Today, we're going to build your escape plan. An escape plan from something called the middle-class trap. It's this weird cycle that keeps you running in place no matter how hard you work. And honestly, a lot of people don't even know they're stuck in it.
So let's get right into it. Does this feel familiar? You get a raise, maybe a big promotion. Your salary is definitely higher, but when you look at your bank account at the end of the month, it just doesn't feel like it. Where's all that extra money actually going?
You know, if that feeling hits a little too close to home, you might be dealing with this exact thing, the middle-class trap. It is this super frustrating loop where bringing in more money just doesn't lead to more wealth or financial freedom.
Okay, so let's break down what this trap is, and more importantly, how it actually works. First up, the middle-class trap. We're going to see why that bigger paycheck isn't building the wealth you thought it would.
Okay, check out this number. For a lot of urban professionals right now, a staggering 61% of their income is just gone. It goes straight to paying off monthly loan installments, EMIs. And what's wild is that a few years ago, in 2020, that number was 46%. This right here is the engine of the trap. Your debt is eating your income before you even get a chance to invest it.
And here we have the silent wealth killer in action. It's this constant battle, lifestyle inflation versus asset building. I mean, every time you get a raise, the temptation is huge, right? A nicer car, a bigger place, way better holidays. But those are all expenses. Asset building, on the other hand, is about using that extra cash to buy things that actually make you money. So the whole game is about choosing to build assets instead of just letting your lifestyle inflate.
All right, so how do we even start to push back against this? Well, it all starts with building a rock-solid foundation. So let's get into our second section, your 2-week safety net. This is a super simple, totally doable plan to get your financial house in order. So, the plan is broken down into 2 really manageable weeks. Week 1 is all about playing defense. You're going to build that super critical financial safety net. Then, week 2, we switch to offense. That's when you start to grow and, crucially, automate your investments for the future. Pretty simple, right?
So let's dive into week 1. These things are absolutely non-negotiable. First, you've got to figure out what 6 months of your essential living expenses looks like. That number? That's your emergency fund. And you need to put it somewhere safe, but also easy to get to, like a liquid mutual fund or a fixed deposit. Next up, health insurance. Seriously, one medical emergency can just wipe out years of your savings, so you've got to make sure you have enough coverage. And last, if anyone depends on your income, a term life insurance plan isn't optional. It's a must-have.
Now, getting a huge health insurance policy can get pretty expensive. But there's a really smart way to boost your coverage without breaking the bank. It's called a super top-up health insurance plan. The best way to think about it is like an affordable booster pack for your main insurance. It only kicks in after your total medical bills for the whole year go over a certain limit, which is called the deductible.
Let's walk through a quick example to see how it works. Okay, let's say your main insurance policy covers you for up to 3 lakh rupees. That's your deductible. Your first hospital bill is 2 lakh. No problem, your base policy covers that completely. But then later in the year, you have another bill for 4 lakh. Your base policy pays the next 1 lakh to hit its 3 lakh limit. And that's when your super top-up plan wakes up and covers the entire remaining 3 lakh. It's an incredibly smart, cost-effective way to protect yourself from those really big, scary medical bills.
All right, our safety net is built. Now it's time to actually build wealth. Let's move on to section 3, the coffee can philosophy. This is a really cool, super low-effort strategy that's all about long-term growth. The name is pretty old school. It comes from the days when people would literally put their valuables in an old coffee can and just hide it away for years. The investment idea is exactly the same. You buy stocks in really high-quality companies, and then you just hold on to them for a very, very long time. You basically forget about them and let the power of compounding work its magic.
But okay, how do you find these coffee can stocks?
Well, the strategy has some very specific, non-emotional rules. You're looking for well-established companies that have a solid decade of consistent performance. Specifically, their revenue has to have grown by at least 10% every single year, and their return on capital needs to be at least 15% per year. The hardest part really is having the discipline to stick to these rules when you're buying, and then holding on to those stocks for at least a decade. So, now that we've got this new financial mindset, let's apply it to one of the biggest decisions that pretty much all of us will face. Section 4, rent versus buy, and the really important math that goes with it.
So, the financial logic here is actually pretty simple when you look at the numbers. In most big cities, the rental yield, that's the rent you'd get in a year as a percentage of the property's value, is only about 2 to 4%. But at the same time, a home loan is going to cost you 8% or even more in interest.
So just looking at it from a pure numbers perspective, you're paying way more in interest than you would ever get back in rent on a similar property.
And look, this isn't just a theory. It's backed up by experts in the field. Amit Agarwal, the CEO of No Broker, puts it perfectly here. He basically says that unless you are really confident that the property's value is going to grow by 5 to 7% every single year for the long haul, then mathematically, renting is just the smarter move. But, and this is a big but, we're not just walking spreadsheets, right? We're human, and buying a home is a deeply emotional decision. It's about that feeling of stability, of being part of a community, and having the freedom to create a space that's really, truly yours. So yeah, the math is a huge piece of the puzzle, but it's not the only piece.
Okay, let's pull all of this together into a real, clear strategy. Section 5, Building Your Escape Plan. This is your final roadmap to financial freedom.
Now, this is a really helpful breakdown of the most common investment options out there. You've got mutual fund SIPs, which are fantastic for automated long-term building. The Public Provident Fund, or PPF, is your go-to for the super safe part of your portfolio, and it has great tax benefits. The National Pension System, NPS, gives you extra tax breaks just for retirement savings. Direct equity, like that coffee can method, has high potential but also higher risk. And of course, real estate, which is tangible but costs a lot to get into and isn't easy to sell. The key is that a really solid plan will probably use a mix of these. And so this entire escape plan really just boils down to these 4 clear steps. Step 1, you have to get a handle on your debt and actively fight against lifestyle inflation. Step 2, build that 2-week safety net we talked about. That means your emergency fund and the right insurance. Step 3, invest systematically for the long haul using a disciplined method. And finally, step 4, when you face those huge life decisions, like buying a house, you use logic and emotion, not just one or the other.
And that brings us to the final question, the one you should really be asking yourself. After all the numbers, all the strategies, it all comes down to this one powerful thought. Is your money just building a temporary lifestyle for today, or is it working hard to build your long-term freedom for tomorrow? The choice, ultimately, is yours.